I have a simple design principle. Your design is part of the cast and should help tell the story. So what was the design process that we used for our production of Sweeney Todd? Step 1. Analyse the script. Character is king. The very first thing that Anita and I did, Anita's our director, was to empty our heads and then read the script. As a rule, you should always read the script. No matter how well you think you know it, you'll discover all sorts. Sounds obvious, right? But it's all too easy to go into a design process like this with lots of preconceived ideas about how the design should look for a show like this. And then all you do is use the script for the stage directions to look at entrances and exits. But believe me, you can get a much more interesting result if you reread the script. Remember, it's the characters who have all the lines and tell the story. So reading the script with a fresh set of eyes allows us to uncover all sorts of details about them and their motivations and their own backstories. And we use our thoughts about this to form our initial ideas about the design. Step 2. Involve the cast. We then had a read-through of the script again, this time with the company, to give them the chance to share the same discussion that Anita and I had already had, and give them a chance to share ideas of their own. We talked with them in detail about the characters and the stories and the kind of language that was being used. And then we got them to write down the first thoughts that came into their heads, like colours and emotions and textures, and eventually general kind of themes of the whole piece. Step 3. Forming our first response. Using the output of the discussions from the first couple of steps that we had about the script and characters, we pulled out the kinds of themes that we wanted to talk about in our production. These were the colour green, madness, depravity, dirt, filth. So using these words, we found imagery and artwork and examples of architecture that we could use to influence our initial design ideas that could be incorporated eventually into the prop design and costuming and lighting, and of course the set. Step 4. Developing the design concept and the set model. We loved the idea of setting it in an abandoned mental asylum. It ticked all the boxes that Anita wanted to pull out of the script and match the ideas that we'd come up with in the previous steps of this process. There were a few sketches of different ideas until this eventually developed into something that we were really happy with. And I was able to make a scale model and finally a CAD model. Step 5. Don't forget your costume, props and lighting. Here's one of the TVs that I've made, and as you can see, I hope that I've tried to age and distress it to give the impression that it's been left in our abandoned building for many years, and I've tried to do this with all the props. The exception to this is the box of Sweeney's razors. We felt that keeping these used but clean was a really nice way of describing the importance of these and how Mrs. Lovett has kept them and never sold them all the time that Sweeney was in Australia. Chris, our lighting designer, carried through our themes into his lighting design, and he was able to use the CAD model which I made to simulate the lighting and program all that in with some amazing simulations long before we ever hit the stage. The design of a production should help with the storytelling whilst not getting in the way. This time though, we took it a stage further and came up with the idea that our abandoned mental asylum had stories to tell of its own, and this time it chose to tell the tale of Sweeney Todd.